The last Alai Fronton in America. An old memory throwback to the lonesome days in Orlando. Sitting in a gambling parlor with a pile of highlight tickets and a squeaking chair. Flipping through my shadows. Seeing everyone else 50 to 60 to 70 years old. The chairs all stained and unwashed for 50 years. Old coffee spills from the 1960s, the 1970s. In the body of broken hearts, once in love, once sitting next to each other, their shadows, that memory still laying in lonesome, barren eyes, a desolation, a chain link fence dangling like a curtain over the stage, green walls behind as the highlight players take their cestas and scurry away in sport. Days long gone that many Americans never liked, but used to. Not a single young person under 60 in the betting parlor, except for myself, last one left in the last Alai Fronton in America. I was the only one left there, and shadows and odds board, long shots everywhere, and lots of money to be made. From another lonesome soul in the chain link fence sites nearby. The place had thinned out over the years from several hundred people with thousands of endless rants for hours and rants and raves, all faded, along with the faces, now down to just a couple of dozen old-timers barely able to whisper or hold canes. And I'd remembered being on the third floor after such a long walk up the empty stairwell along the side, not bothering to take the old elevator which was too slow. It had a door that half opened and creaked and shook every floor. And I'd entered that third floor gambling parlor with $20 in my left pocket. Not enough to even buy a dog track betting program and have enough left over to bid every race. Not enough either for the horse tip sheet or the highlight program, just enough for 10 bets. But that's what I did anyways, was read the odds boards. It's like the old Shrewsbury Street days. My grandfather's best friend. Used car dealership down by Water Street. The numbers already reflected what the betting programs did anyways. All the favorites. It was factored in. The dogs, the upsets to win. Then came this moment that made the day unusual. It came in a flash. In the sudden, graceful destiny, I met a man who sat next to me with thick, black-rimmed eyeglasses and a studious professor look on his face. Extended his hand. He was a retired school teacher. He slid over a track program. He noticed I didn't have one, and I told him I was handicapped in the odds board. "You're the youngest man I've seen in here for 30 years, he said, for decades maybe. You remind me of when I was young back then. Back then there were more younger people around and I've had no luck today. 9 horse just choked. Nice odds on her too. 12 to 1 and beat late. And it always happens that way, I get beat late." He slid the program over and let me read the charts on the horses. We sat there and we bet into the rhythm of hopes and the rhythm of fears and the fluctuating odds of human and social mood. And his ticket losses kept piling up, but he kept sliding over the program. He kept up with the beat of the rhythm of the hopes and the rhythm of the fears. We just kept going race through race. "Don't care about the money," he said, "it's all about the challenge." "And the horses are beautiful," he said. "I used to paint them, draw them. I used to love drawing them before my arthritis set in." That was then, 15 years ago when I met him. And now, in the final 2 days of Alai Fronton in Orlando being open, one of the last Alai Frontons in America, I saw him again, were the last two people left in the place, and felt like it was very ironic. Because I hadn't seen him in 15 years. I think actually it was 20 years. And that was way back then. Throughout all this passing of time, nearly 2 decades passed. We were the last two people in the High Line in Orlando, as the players took to the courts to warm up for the first game. There wasn't anybody left from his generation. The generation had waned. Many had died and left these empty seats here. All these seats that were once full were now long empty. And that's why the place was going to close, and all the other places around the country were going to close. That generation was gone and had left. And I was the only one of the new generation to take their place. Just one. Last one. No more loud, boisterous voices. They'd all filled graves with silence now. With pin-drop whispers. Just from the sounds of the players on the court. All short of breath. Shadows unable to waver. The high-lie players were even older, heavier, grayer, more overweight. There was no waiting lines to put her in a bed anymore. There was no one waiting in front of the door anymore. There was no one there to tear a ticket because there wasn't any people to tear tickets for. The gambling parlor had been replaced by a funeral parlor silence. There was nothing else much moving in the place except for our eyes keeping track of the ball and the cesters and the creaking sneakers on the players as they warmed up beneath the closing sign in 2 days. And it was near the end, for the last Alai Fronton in America after being open for 80 years, and the last of 3 in the United States, as dozens and dozens closed. It was full of a funeral parlor air, dead empty of smoking, no more cigars or cigarettes. Not many people left wanting to be inside to smoke them. And I was sitting there sad to see the place closing after 20 years of visiting. And Beltran, the player, walked out wearing a purple jersey, number 8. And he lifted his cester and waved at me. And I knew it was his final game and my final time to see him. And I saw him standing behind his eye goggles. They were pressed deep into his face like they always were. He waved and I waved back. And he knew I'd have that final bet on him as I always did bet on him. It was almost closing time. Almost closing time, but there was still a day left of this game. The players took to the first of the games in front of the stage, and the Spanish music played, the shuffle of cestas and mandolins and guitars, and the Spanish music played, and all the players bowed and lifted their cestas as they took to the stage. And the referees in their black and white prison break shirts ran out to the court, and I slouched back. I just waited for Beltran to take the court. And then it happened. Yes, then it happened. I saw that old man that I was mentioning. He appeared again. This time much older and weaker, and he was that retired professor of art. And he crawled in and sat next to me. The same eyeglasses. He had him pressed in and tried to speak, but his voice was weak. His fingers were slow to move, and his hands trembled, and they shook terribly. And I knew he didn't recognize me. Especially when I'd said, "It's you. I remember you. It's almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. I remember you." But he just squinted his eyes and shrugged. Have we met? I said, yes. We were upstairs betting years ago, back in the 90s. You were betting the gray horse for your mother, the horse that had your wife's name, you remember? I knew I'd have to use a memory, one with such detail, so specific. especially to his mother and the gray horse and his wife. He couldn't mistake forgetting that, could he? So much older he was now, frail and thin, with ice-bone purple nails. I don't remember you, kid. But you know this place is closing, don't you? I know. It's closing. It's closing. He pointed to the yellow jersey player. I got a bet on him. It was Espinoza in the 6th number. He was going up against my player Beltran, the 8. Beltran took the ball and stumbled over his shoelace, and the ball went right up over his head, hitting his cesta, spiraling up into the ceiling, and the old man scored the point over me. And there was a lot of game left, and the old man clutched his ticket, and was the first player to score 7, who would win. And I scanned the odds board, and the odds were 35-1 on his 6. And the way the odds were in those final days of highlights, since the betting pools were so thin, the old man, he drew a picture on a napkin of me. Actually, it was in a notebook page of mine, and he scribbled his number down too, and he said, See, here's one of those drawings. And he drew it of me. And I shook his hand and I thanked him. And the highlight players, they cleared the stage for the next game. Changing jerseys, changing helmets and cestas, and getting ready to warm up for the next game. And he leaned his head on my arm, and his eyes were wild, and he didn't seem right. Maybe close to 85 years old, maybe 90. And that's when a woman approached, and she wore a blue scrubs nursing uniform, aqua green flowers on her shirt. And he said, No, oh no, it's my daughter. She's not gonna like me talking to you. I've got to talk to someone though, but nobody's ever here anymore. The woman quickly came and grabbed his hand, just as Espinoza dropped the cesta before the warm-up. Another ball hit the floor and bounced away. And it was all the end. The nurse glancing down at me with suspicious eyes. Come on, Alfred, it's time to leave. No, he said. I can't leave yet. Espinoza, another game. I'm having a great conversation with this young man, and I'm gonna keep talking to him. Then he glanced one final time hard into my eyes, and he tried to not be taken away. His hands fought the woman. They were all purple, bruised veins, grabbed her hands and tried to push her away. I watched him slide away, just as the cesta in Espinosa's hand tilted to the side in the warm-up game. And the ball dropped again. And the ball dropped to the court and flowed away. It rolled and rolled and rolled away. And the game was over for him. The game was over for the entire Fronton. All of Highline. All of American sense of sport. Of the sport. The game was over. And a whole sense of death slid in, as I knew I'd never see the old man again. That I was meant to see him one final time in the destiny of things before they closed the doors of this place. And I knew he'd die soon. I saw death in his eyes. The same death that was in the Fronton. Was in the game of Highlight in America. The same death that was in all the silence, in all the empty chairs, and all the empty graves of the people who used to stand here. That's when Beltran, the player, stepped out to finish for the 6th point in the next game. He was 1 point away from winning. And the chair next to me was empty. Beltran lifted his cesta to me. He was about to serve. He knew I had money on him. I always did. And then he set to serve, and I only needed him to win and land a cortada. And the ball zipped low and hit between lines. And Gino, the other player, caught it. He hurled it to the front wall. And I knew Beltran had to run to the back court, and his legs were all older and slower and taller, and he knew I had money on him. It was all or nothing. The last bet I'd ever have here. And he scrambled to the ball, and his sister caught it. And he tripped, but held his stance enough. And the ball raced midair into the front court, and the battle was underway as he challenged Gino, who was known to break down late, getting iced, almost like a field goal kicker in an NFL game. Beltran played him perfectly, stealing the front court, sending Gino a hard ball which Gino caught, but mishandled with his cesta, a classic mental error, and the ball dropped out. And the ball fell and rolled and rolled and rolled and dropped down against the final tile, leaving a lonesome echo as Gino tipped his chin, and Beltran lifted his cesta to me. It was the final time I'd hear the ball roll. It was the final time I'd see Beltran as he slowly walked off the court. And I scanned the empty audience, being the only one left, the old man gone. No one was left. No more whistles, no more cigars, no more smokers, no more Sinatra, no more people to bet against, except for myself, except for a few older men in wheelchairs, off track somewhere betting, having left widows, wives gone with nothing left to love in life except for the thrill of a long-lost lover, stranger, the thrill of a horse and the long shots in life. A dog race gone, all dog racing to be gone. The game, life's game, love's game, the game of high lie. Didn't even matter if you had a few bucks left. In the end, there won't be anything left. So I shuffled out. And they closed the place. The last Alai Fronton in America. The Orlando Highlight. All those people's memories gone. All buried in graves. All my days long gone. To be buried in a grave. It's funny how the times change. Someone might not even remember what used to take place there, where there used to be a stage. The last Alai Fronton in America, in Orlando. A Alai that has now been lost to age.